Do you know how hard it was to read that Facebook comment, those Facebook comments asking about a frame chair 14 when I knew it was coming? Well, here it is. And Nick and I have the only two around right now, I think. So we're taking this Angler edition out for its first spin. Basically, the hull remains the same on the Caribbean 14 as the previous version, but what Eddyline did is reconfigure this area for the frame seat. So we no longer have that middle bucket here to make room for the frame seat. They sunk these feet down in to receive the seat, to get the seat as low as possible. So you have this nice draining area. It's going to drain down. You'll see that the seat is sunk down. And of course, if we were in the standard version, that was up a little bit higher. So they really should feel very similar in terms of seat height and stability. All I have to do is move those forward. You can pop this out. Now I have the beach chair. You can kind of see the configuration down in here. Show you how this goes back in. Pop right back in. And we're go. And then I like calling out, you know, the fact that these feet are added in just gives you that extra layer of durability so that if your seat's coming in and out, you're not scratching up the deck. They did also make the handle change here. This one has the same handle that we're using in the 12 FS, so your hands don't get pinched. You have a really quick one-handed stop paddle park. And these are easy to change out if there were ever any sort of damage in here. The lock nuts are actually fused inside, so you can just back out the screws and replace if you ever needed to. So we're looking at the Angler version here, which has the center rod mount, 2 flush rod mount holders, and we have the footwell pads and the console pad up here. We have track mounts here, so you can be putting cup holders, camera mounts, rod holders, basically anything that can be track mounted can be installed, and you have one on each side. We have our console. This is great for like your tackle boxes. It's a nice spot when I'm doing like photography. I can mount my tripod here and secure it with the bungees. So it's a useful feature. Same flip hatch, removable bucket, so we can take this, we can access gear in here. The nice thing about this flip hatch and why they use that here is if I was using this as a utilitarian boat, I can be sitting sideways and it's easier than some sort of rubberized hatch. This is going to be easy to open up and get into here. One thing that I really like also calling out that Eddyline did on this new version is they kind of raised this area here, which when accessing in just gives you a little bit more room to put gear up under your seat or maybe get a rod in through there. It's just a small little feature, but it does make a big difference when you're loading a dry bag in and trying to use this thing for any sort of touring. This little hatch right here is also one of those access points. Mainly, you're not going to put a whole big dry bag in here, but this is going to give you access to work on the back of your boat. And it looks like they gave a little more volume right here on this version and some cool styling, just to make that a little bit easier to get in there, and it also looks really cool. Let's take a look at the hull. So like I mentioned earlier, this is the same hull that was on the standard version of the Caribbean 14. It's got the gull wing design, which is going to give a lot of stability. It's got a kind of this keel line running the whole length, so great tracking, real full volume to the bow and the stern, so you have that added stability that you get by carrying the volume. Great buoyancy for loading it up in gear, or if you're turned sideways and you're trying to access your front hatch, that extra little volume up here is going to give you buoyancy for that. We've got the scupper holes, the 2 for the cockpit region, and then the 2 in the back for the tankwell. You like? I like. This is awesome, because Nick's got the longer legs, what, 6'2", 6'3". This is a boat that he can paddle and have a little more leg room. I'm excited to use this like with my dog, just to have a little more space in the cockpit. Let's take it for a paddle. It's funny, a lot of people see these sit-on tops and they think only warm conditions, but Nick and I have spent many years at the Seattle Boat Show where we meet a lot of people that are buying kayaks for their home in the San Juan Islands or off their boat. They might have guests using the boat. It's one of the things I love about a sit-on top. If I was in a cold water environment and I had guests using a boat, for this, if they capsize, they can just flip over and climb back in. They don't need to know all the assisted reentry. So if you have a boat that's kind of going to be used by all sorts of family members and friends, you can go with the sit-on top, and there's a lot of safety built into it. And then in terms of just protection for your body and temperature, it's just about wearing the right gear. So if you're out in cold, salt water, wearing a wetsuit or a dry suit. But on a day like today where I know I'm going to be warm here in a few minutes, I can just kind of wear standard non-cottons. And then the joy of getting into a sit on top like that, right? Just stepping right in. I can step my foot off, hang out and talk. I'm just wearing some neoprene water shoes. I really like these. Just being able to turn sideways, scoot up here, get into my hatch, close it back up, right back in. Sit on tops like this paddling with my dog. I can just pull my dog out of the water. The self-draining is really neat. I'm wearing a standard backed PFD from Stolquist, so I actually like to recline it a little bit so when I'm paddling I'm off the backrest. But for those that really want that support, wearing a thin back would probably be a good choice. So I've spent some time in the Caribbean 14. To me, stability seems pretty darn close. You know, real stable to get up and stand in for me. Predictable movement. I can be doing my fishing, back down. Let's take her for a cruise. We're using a big bladed Bending Branches Angler Pro, which feels really nice and appropriate with this boat. Just gives me the power to get a slightly larger sit on top moving. Great tracking. An edge right here, just kind of like that 15 degree to help assist an outside edge turn, and it stiffens up right there. So I flat, and then right there I'm getting a really nice stiff point. Come a little closer to the camera and show that. You know, I'm only about 165 pounds, so you're probably seeing a lot of freeboard in this boat, but right there, you know, it's just very stable. Bring it back around. Going upstream here, so probably putting out a little bit more wake than I would if I was going down. Nothing to hit my paddle on the deck. That's really nice. I mean, this is a sit on top that can be used for fishing, but it's really a nice paddling ride too. And I think that's what really separates Eddyline sit on top from many others. And I was in Lake Tahoe with a bunch of sea kayaker friends. It was just a hot day and the water was clear blue and great. And so they were all in sea kayaks and I was in this. And I was able to just cruise with them for a couple hours out to Emerald Bay at Lake Tahoe and then cruise back. So we had some 13-foot boats, we had some 16-foot boats. The point of it is this 14-foot sit on top at conversational speeds, cruise along. All right, one more call out to my friend Dan. He always does the Headwaters headstand, but I've got the kids and we've been doing family movie night during this whole pandemic. And so the crane, you gotta, let's see, stand in the middle. Woo! I think a headstand's actually easier than the crane. I didn't want to go over. I've got this mic on me. Yeah, I think there's going to be some really happy folks that have this.